And now I want to go over how to model the band. So I'm going to hide these image planes and show the ones for the band. So the band is made up of two parts. There's this plastic part that's curved like this, and then there's a pad underneath it that goes into this plastic area. Kind of see it here in this image. So the pad is essentially an elongated sphere, and it's recessed into the plastic area. So I'm going to create this with two primitives. So the first one I'll use is the box that we created for the band here. And then I'll use a second primitive called a capsule for the pad area here. I'll go to my Create panel here, and under Extended Primitives, I have the option for a capsule. And the capsule is the shape of a pill capsule. But one half of that capsule shape is essentially the shape of this pad. It's just curved at the top. So I'll create this in my left view here. I'll first drag to get the circumference, and then drag it down to get the length of the capsule. So I want the number of sides to be even so that I can cut it directly in half here. But this is supposed to be a low poly model, so I don't want it to be too high in resolution. So 12 actually looks like a pretty decent number. And I want to have enough height segments that I'm going to be able to bend it with the bend modifier, and also even so that I have a way to split it down the middle. So this actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to move this up and snap it to the bottom of the box, and then move it over. And then I'll take down the height here so that it's at about the right length. And now I'm going to center the pivot so that I can make sure it snaps to the center of this box. So I'll choose Effect Pivot Only, Center to Object, and then I'll snap that to the grid here. Now I'm going to convert this capsule to an editable poly and delete the polygons on the top half of it. I'm going to move it so it's right in the center. And on the headphones, it's slightly recessed in this direction as well. So I'm going to scale it in a bit in the Y. About like that. And then, as you can kind of see in this image, pad flattens out at the top where it is recessed into the plastic part of the band. So I'm going to take the outer loop of edges here on both sides and extrude them out. I'm going to use the scale transform type in to extend this out in the X and the Y. So just drag it till it's about halfway towards the end there, right about like that. And then kind of match the same in the X. So there it flattens out and extends outward a bit at the top. Now I'm going to convert the box to an editable poly as well. And now I'm going to use a Boolean operation to create a hole for the pad here, this half of the capsule, in this box. But first, a quick note about how to work with Booleans. And I think this is easier to demonstrate on some simple primitives here. And you may remember learning about Venn diagrams back in middle school or high school, where you might have a circle that represents people that love peanut butter and another circle that represents people that love chocolate. And where those two circles intersect, the intersecting area is people that love both chocolate and peanut butter. If you subtracted one circle from the other, that would represent the people that love peanut butter and not chocolate, or that love chocolate and not peanut butter. So you may remember them from grade school, and it's kind of a visual way of working with Venn diagrams. So I'm just going to create a simple box and then a simple sphere. And I'm going to move this sphere so that it intersects the box. Under my Create Compound menu, I'm going to add a Boolean. And basically what we do is we choose the type of operation that we want to perform on this. So the union, which is the default, I've added it to the box, so I'm going to add the sphere as an operand, and you'll see with union selected, it creates the union of these two. And if we look at it in wireframe mode, you can see that it got rid of the area where the sphere intersected that box, and it combined the two areas together. So that's essentially what that union would be. So if the box were people that loved peanut butter, and the sphere were people that loved chocolate, this union would be people that love both peanut butter and chocolate. So undo that. And now I'm going to use intersect and add the sphere as an operand. And you'll see it leaves only the area where the box and the sphere intersected each other. Subtract, as you might guess, will subtract the area where the sphere intersects with the cube. So it really is just simple mathematical operations that you might remember from school. It's just that those operations are being performed on these geometric primitives. So I'm going to delete this now. So now I'm going to use that with the box and the capsule here. So I will select the box, and I'm going to use something called a pro boolean, which is similar to the boolean, but it gives me a few more options. So I'll add that to the box. And before I do this, I want to make sure that I don't lose the original capsule. So as you notice, when I was performing those operations with the sphere, that the sphere itself disappeared when I subtracted that from the box. So I don't want to lose the original capsule. So I'm going to select the capsule and create a copy and hide the original so that I can always get back to that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the imprint feature on the pro boolean to create a hole on the bottom of this box that's the shape of this capsule with the edges at the top extruded out. So select the box and go to my modify panel, and I'm going to set the parameter here. And you'll see I have a lot of the same ones I had for the regular boolean, but a few more here. So I'm going to choose the one that says imprint, and then start picking, which is analogous to the add operands on the regular boolean, and choose that copy of the capsule. And you'll see that created edges in the bottom of the box that correspond to the edges on that capsule. But the capsule itself has disappeared, and that's why I created the copy first. So I'm going to convert this to an editable poly again. And I'm going to delete the polygons here that line up with that hole. So I have just the polygons selected that line up with the hole. And I'll delete those. And then I can show my original capsule, and it's still there. And now I have a hole in the bottom of the box that corresponds to the shape of this capsule. Now, as I mentioned, the capsule is slightly recessed, so I'm going to select the capsule here and move it up a bit so that it's recessed. It's not too far up, maybe about like that. And then I'm going to scale it down in the Z so that it matches the image a little bit better. I'm going to hide this top image plane for a minute. It's getting in the way of seeing what we're doing here. So what I need to do now is extrude this outer loop of edges on the capsule down so that it lines up with the hole in the box. And that's how the pad attaches to the plastic band here on the actual headphones. So I'll select this loop. It's already selected. Extrude. And now I'm going to snap these down to the bottom of the box. So now I have this capsule go out at the top and then down to line up with the hole in the bottom of the box. So I want to be able to attach these two together now, but you'll see that if I look for my n-gons now on this box, you'll see the entire bottom section of this box is one big n-gon. So I want to be able to create similar edges in the box that line up with the edges in the capsule. So I'm going to use the slice plane again for that. I'll do this in my back view here. So I'll use my slice plane. I always like to reset the plane before I start using it. Make sure your angle snap is on so I can rotate it exactly 90 degrees. And I want the first one to be in the middle here, so I'll hit slice. And then I'll start moving these to line up with the edges where the capsule connects to the box. And each time click slice to execute the edge loop. Do these in the perspective view so I can make sure I'm hitting exactly what I want to. And now I want to flip the plane around to do the edges going in this direction, so I'll just reset the plane. And I want the first one right down the middle, so that's where the plane is lined up now, so I'll slice that. And then I'll move it out in the y-axis to snap to here. Slice, then one more right there. And now you can see that I've lined up edge loops everywhere it intersects with the capsule here. So I also want to add some edge loops at the end here. I'm going to cut this in half in a moment because I want the two sides to be the same. But I want to be able to bend this band as well as the pad here. So I need edge loops going across the distance of the box because the bend can only bend the object based on the vertices that make it up. So I need to have edge loops here at the end as well. So I'll just use the connect feature for that. Now I'm going to get rid of one half of this and do the same thing for the capsule. Get rid of half of it. So now I'm going to attach the capsule to the box. Always deactivate attach when you're finished. And now I want to weld these vertices. And again, because I know they're going to be sitting right on top of each other, because I snapped the slice plane exactly to where the edges lined up on the capsule here, I can just scroll over all of the vertices, make sure my weld threshold is nice and low, and click those. And that will weld any of the ones that are right on top of each other. And now I'm going to mirror this over to the other side, so I'll create a copy, Control V. And again, mirror is going to be scaling in the negative direction. So in this case, it'll be X. So I'll right click on my scale and just set the X scale to -100. Attach the two together. Select the vertices in the middle and weld. And this is a good time to check for n-gons here. Looks like I have a couple here. So I'm going to mirror over this side now. It'll be faster than trying to fix these n-gons. So I'm going to delete all the polygons on this side. Set the pivot to the center. Another copy. And this time I'm going to set the scale to -100 in the Y. So attach the two together. Select the vertices down the middle and weld. Check for n-gons again. It looks like I'm in good shape. So I'll save this. So now I'm going to use a bend modifier to curve the band in this direction. So I'll do this in my back view again. So I'll add a bend modifier. And the way the bend works is that it's going to bend based on the shape that you see here outlined in orange. So the angle will be the amount of bend. I'll choose the axis that I want to bend it in, and you'll see that I can't get it to bend in exactly the way that I want it here, and that's because this is essentially the shape that I want, but I want it to be rotated in this direction. So I'm going to change the direction to 90 to rotate this bend 90 degrees, and that's the direction I want it to go in. So now I'll just drag up the angle till I get something pretty close, and you'll see it doesn't match just yet. I need to expand the bend here, select the gizmo, and then scale it inward in the X to get it to shape the way it looks in the reference images. So that looks good. That's about as close as I can get. I can also move the gizmo. So right about there, it's about as close as I can get. And that's pretty close to the shape here, but I'm going to do a little bit more editing after this. But once I'm happy with those results, I'll just collapse all. So now I'm going to use the paint deformation brush to change the shape of the bottom of the pad here to match the reference images. So I don't want to affect anything but the bottom part of this pad area. So I don't want to accidentally paint the band itself or even the top of the pad. So I'm going to select just the polygons that I want here, deselect the ones that I don't. Can hold down Control and change my selection to vertex. I'm going to deselect so I just have the vertices at the bottom of the pad selected. And then if I scroll down here to the very bottom of the editable poly modifier, you'll see I have a tab called Paint Deformation. And that's essentially a brush that allows you to sculpt this surface. So there's also a freeform brush up here that allows you to do the same thing. I can push and pull, relax. Both of them will do the same thing. And what I'm going to do before I start painting is I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing to the front side, I'm also doing to the back side. So I'll click on the brush options and make sure I have mirror checked. I want to make sure whatever I do to the front is also done to exactly the same way to the back. So it's going to be the y-axis. So I'll make sure I choose Y here. And then I'm just going to start painting with the brush until it matches this image. Oh, that looks pretty good. And again, I'm going to cut this in half again and mirror it over. Negative 100 and X. Attach. Weld the vertices. And I'll probably move these down just a little bit. There, that looks pretty good. And that's about the shape of that band and the pad that attaches to it. So I'll save this.